and welcome to Dome Discourse. We start today with breaking news.
Today we'll be covering America's involvement in Iran and the dangerous and controversial actions President Trump recently took in attempts to defend the dignity of our nation.
The recent sanctions and threats posed by both Iran and America.
The ongoing protests for democratic freedom in Hong Kong. How much longer they will continue, and exactly what our officials have done to aid the situation.
Now we see everything that's going wrong with the world and those who lead it. We just feel like we don't have the means to rise above and beat it. So we keep waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting on the world to change. Waiting on the world to change.
Hello again, and welcome to Dome Discourse, a place where discourse finds its home inside the dome. I'm your host, Jilly Randall.
And I'm your host, Jackie Fletcher. Pleased to be here with you today. Today, we start with the chaos that is Iran.
On January 3rd, in response to Iran's recent attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, the United States initiated a surprise drone attack on General Soleimani at Baghdad's International Airport, killing him and several other significant Iranian officials. Soleimani was considered the most powerful operative in the Middle East and the most dangerous terrorist in the entire world, according to officials, as he was the Major General of the Quds Force, a designated terrorist group with over 20,000 personnel. In this position, he was directing terror groups across the globe, targeting Americans and global civilians. He was directly responsible for the deaths of over 600 U.S. servicemen and women. Many argue that taking him out has made America safer. I have to say, Jackie, it's hard for me to disagree on that one.
Yes, but it's important to note that this man was literally worshipped in Iran. Who knows what will follow on their part in response to the death of such an idolized figure? I mean, some are even predicting World War III.
But again, this attack wasn't unprovoked, given the rising hostilities between the U.S. and Iran in the last year. Besides the embassy attack, this was triggered by years of provocative proxy attacks like damages to ships, oil fields, military equipment, and again, the killing of hundreds of Americans. I think it was a way for President Trump to stand up to the radical Ayatollah, who might I say literally chants death to America, and tell him that the United States isn't going to let his actions slide under the rug anymore.
Not to mention that U.S. intelligence reported Soleimani was planning imminent attacks on Americans shortly before his death. But how did we get here, Jilly? Why is there so much bad blood?
The two countries never really got along on any ideological level. Especially after 9/11, Iran was accused of supporting terrorist activity, which prompted the U.S. to place sanctions on them. Obama lifted the sanctions in 2015 in exchange for Iran's total disarmament of nuclear activity. But there was no evidence that they truly stopped nuclear development. So, in May 2018, Trump withdrew from the nuclear agreement deal with Iran that Obama had made and reimposed the sanctions, bringing out bad blood all over again.
I see. And all of that came to a tipping point at the end of 2019 when an Iranian missile killed an American citizen, the U.S. retaliated, and the aforementioned attack on the U.S. embassy occurred. But after Soleimani's killing and Iran's retaliation of again firing missiles on American bases in Iraq, there has been relative radio silence. Threats have been exchanged, but I think we're all wondering what's next, Jilly.
Yes, we are, Jackie. Trump did, however, make a very clear statement about his public policy on January 3rd, following the attack, saying,
"Under my leadership, America's policy is unambiguous to terrorists who harm or intend to harm any American. We will find you, we will eliminate you, we will always protect our diplomats, service members, all Americans, and our allies. We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war."
As of January 30th, the U.S. has again sanctioned Iran's nuclear entity. However, the U.S. has issued waivers to the Iranian corporation that will allow Russian, Chinese, and European nuclear firms to continue their work there in hopes that they will monitor Iran and prevent them from developing a nuclear weapon.
But hopes are all they are, Jackie. Officials have said this move likely won't do much to stop Tehran from continuing nuclear production full steam ahead, a huge security threat for the world. In fact, some Republicans are upset about the waivers since they advocated for maximum pressure on Iran and see these moves as ineffective and purely symbolic.
So far, Trump's actions and policies have received mixed reviews and even incited anti-war protests. According to recent polls, approximately 53% of people approve the strike. Are you in that 53% Notre Dame? Now, we take to the streets to find out what you think. Hello, this is Dome Discourse. Have you ever heard of Dome Discourse before?
Yes. This morning, actually.
Amazing. We're getting more public.
No, not at all.
It's okay, now you have.
What are your names?
I'm Emily.
I'm Erica.
I'm Joey.
Have you heard of Dome Discourse?
I have.
You have? Do you know what Dome Discourse is?
I don't.
Well. Do you think the U.S. should be getting in other governments' business?
I do. I think, there's a balance between being the policeman of the world and protecting your own interests. So because we do have interests abroad, I think you need to monitor that as well.
I'm Canadian, so I don't really know.
I think we should be, especially if we have interest across the globe. So.
Should we be doing that?
Should we?
Way to turn that question around on me. I like it.
I'm pretty isolationist, actually, so I think we should stay out of it. We've seen in the Middle East, like, a lot of our intervention has caused perpetual problems. And I think, the way forward is not through taking over countries or, influencing them with our democracy. We should just let them be.
Should we be interventionists? No? Okay. So, Paolo, you're from Italy, right?
Yes, I was born there.
Amazing. So, can I ask you a question? It's about the U.S. So, do you think that the U.S. should be intervening in other countries' business, or should we stay out of it in general?
I mean, there's a practical question and an idealistic question. If you want your way of life to keep going the way it is, so, you always go to the gas station and the price is cheap and stuff like that, then sadly you kind of need intervention. But if you're an idealistic person and you want peace in the world and all those nice things that seem unachievable and yet we hope for, then no, they shouldn't intervene.
Do you guys know what happened earlier this year in Iran? Did you hear about it on the news? Not a clue about what happened in Iran.
No.
No.
The killing of Mr. Salami.
Mr. Soleimani, yes.
Soleimani, right.
Oh, that's what you mean. Then yes.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely heard about that.
So what do you think about that?
How public is this going to be?
No. No, we should have killed him.
Oh, we should have killed him.
No, we should not have killed him. Should not have killed him.
Okay. And that's because you're an isolationist.
Yes, I know he's committed some war crimes and killed some Americans, but, there's other ways to solve these problems.
Feel free to share your opinion. It's America. You have that First Amendment right. You know what I mean?
Justified?
Absolutely. I think it was crucial that we killed him. It was a good idea. He was days away from planning an attack on American interests, so it had to be done. I think we honestly need to do more.
You don't have to feel informed. No one's informed. We're not informed. We're just trying to get the news out there.
Okay, honestly, no one can know for sure. Like they used to say that Saddam Hussein used to have chemical weapons and hence why they prompted the US to intervene. Nowadays, looking back and with introspection, we know that that wasn't the case. So I guess it's too soon to answer. I'm a pacifist, so I would say no, but if we are to be practical, if that's what the intelligence actually says, then national security, it was kind of necessary to do so.
Uninformed opinion, but he definitely had it coming.
Do you guys think World War III is upon us?
Not right now. I could not tell you, Joey.
Last but not least, we turn to Hong Kong. For more than 6 months, Hong Kong citizens have been in the streets in attempts to defend their democracy. But it's coming at an increasingly violent cost.
These protests were in retaliation of a bill proposed in June that would allow the extradition of fugitives to mainland China. Doesn't seem like such a big deal, right? Look deeper.
People claim that this bill could give China the right to prosecute people for trivial political reasons, and especially under their heavily shrouded legal system.
Essentially, people in Hong Kong, which is semi-autonomous and operates with its own political and legal systems similar to the US, would subject themselves to the power of China, something many do not want. Ideologically, some see the protests as a dichotomy between Chinese authoritarianism and Western ideals. Recently, President Trump signed an act that was passed unilaterally by both the House and Senate in support of the protests. Oddly refreshing that our nation can agree on something.
As time moves forward, the protests have gotten smaller, but that might be because the government has placed restrictions on travel, not to mention danger and fear. So far, the youngest person arrested was just 11 years old, but over 6,000 people have already been arrested.
And those numbers really don't even do the chaos justice, Jilly. Boarded up businesses, and big ones too, like the Bank of China, smashed traffic lights, graffiti, and riot police are commonplace. These protests have hurt Hong Kong's economy, safety, tourism, even causing some people to leave altogether. While all of this can be seen and quantified to a certain extent, what cannot be seen and will prevail is the immense divide and mistrust between the government and its people, not just about the said bill, but about the nature and future of Hong Kong.
But now, what do you think? Should the US have intervened at all, or should we be doing even more? Should China try to stop exerting its influence, or does it have the right to?
Have you heard about the Hong Kong protests in retaliation to the bill that was proposed?
Yes.
No, I have not.
Yes, I have, but I'm not very informed. No, please inform me.
Nothing about Hong Kong.
Have you heard about what's going on in Hong Kong with the protests at all? What do you think? Should the America be intervening there, or?
I personally don't think that we should intervene. I think that that is something for the Chinese government and the Hong Kong people to figure out.
So you think the U.S. should be involved in things like Hong Kong, but not in Iran?
I don't believe involved, but I do believe the U.S. should support. It's man.
If the US intervenes candidly and the purpose of the intervention is to negotiate human rights agreements, then yes. But if the hidden agenda is to gain power and influence foreign countries, then no. Let's leave it up to the people of Hong Kong and the people of China to agree with each other. We don't want to foster conflict and make it worse than it already is.
Are you still an isolationist for Hong Kong?
You know, maybe the U.S. doesn't intervene, but the UN or some other global police forces should.
Yes, they should be involved because it's human rights violations over there, which, again, in Iran, that was also human rights being violated over there. But it's not a preemptive strike, it's supporting people.
Do you know our slogan?
Yes. You guys are very famous.
Shall we?
Yes.
This has been Dome Discourse, where discourse finds its home inside the dome. Inside the dome.
Inside the dome.
Inside the dome. This has been Dome Discourse. No. No, you're.